boy. All right. Yes, we're going to Aruba, Carolyn. That's where the whole point well, I wanted to do something pink for Jen, and the shirt that I had on this morning, Jen, did not work. It was gonna clash with you so bad. It was bad.
Mm.
In fact, Jen, you and I got a really cool picture in Birmingham, Alabama, but it clashes so bad. I'm wearing bright red pants, and you're wearing
Oh,
a
I
cool
have
pink shirt.
pink.
Yeah, it just that color red and that pink
Can't work.
can't work.
Mm-mm.
And no kidding, you look like a different woman.
Oh, yeah. That's
You look
funny.
amazing.
Thank you. Thank you.
You might get mad at me if I post it, you know?
Oh, that's funny. That's really, yeah. So maybe we'll have to take another one this
That's right.
summer.
That's right. Well, we are live. I don't know what
Here
we're
we
doing,
go.
but we're doing it.
We're just showing up.
We're just showing up. That's half the battle, man. Show up.
That's right. Talk
Oh,
about that statement.
I almost kind of want to talk about clickbait.
Okay. You wanna talk about clickbait?
It's so frustrating. These people that get in these crazy arguments, and
Uh-huh.
all they did was read the clickbait. They didn't open it up and read they didn't read it, you know?
Right? I
And
know.
it's so bogus what it says. This is the one I'll get off my heart, and then we'll talk about the 3 big
Okay.
decisions. But it said, if you're an ice bath enthusiast, pump the brakes. The ice baths don't work,
Oh,
right?
geez.
Well, you know, I do ice baths every morning, so I'm thinking, okay, I want to read it.
Right?
So I read it. And in the article, like if you and I would have turned in this article in school, we'd have gotten an F. Because in the article, he says, I don't have enough research, but they're doing research on it.
Shut up.
I'm thinking, you just put on your clickbait that they don't work. You
Mhm.
alluded to they didn't work, right?
Right.
And so that was like about a month and a half ago. Well, no kidding. One of my friends on Instagram, he also does ice baths, and someone posted that article in their comments saying, "Hey, man, just want to let you know, ice baths don't have all the benefits you think they." And I'm thinking, I never respond to morons. I don't respond to anybody really. If anybody says, like this one guy says my hair was bad or something like that, I respond back, "Hey, you would have really hated it when it was long." Uh, you know, and one guy, I sent him a picture of me in a kilt with long hair, and I said, "Well, you would really hate this." But so I don't respond back, but I want to respond back like so bad. 'Cause I'm like, dude,
Right.
you didn't even read
read.
that article, and you're telling your buddy on Instagram, you know.
Well, so it's funny. So there was this really inspirational video that I saw about an eagle,
Uh,
and it was like, I mean, so well done that I'm like, this has to be facts. But then it was so extreme. It talked about like an eagle, like at age 40, then they have to like get rid of their talons, and they get all this thing, and they like have this whole rebirth, and they either die or they regenerate. And it sounded like so inspiring. And I was like, I don't know. And I went and checked, completely lies.
oh
I mean,
no.
like, but literally, like the depth that they went through, like, I mean, straight up National Geographic, this story, and it looked so real. And I mean, it was major like leadership entrepreneurship accounts that were like sharing this. And
Uh,
so again, you think, why would someone lie about this? You just
yeah,
never know. Even something stupid as regenerating your growth as a rebuilding yourself as an eagle. I don't know. It was so silly. But
I can't
anyways,
believe it.
I know, right? Just never know.
People are. I mean, there's people that quit doing ice baths, I'm sure.
Zero doubt, right? Or you know, like your buddy, that's what always happens. You know, it's like these people who are super unhealthy, and they'll find one article about a weight loss system that doesn't work, and they're like, see, I told you, it's all bogus. I'm like, oh, that's right, the cheeseburger diet's a much better solution for your health. I forgot. Hope you feel better about yourself. Anyways,
Oh, I'm glad we got clickbait
yes,
off our brains,
so this is not clickbait.
because they do it all the time, man.
Yeah.
Even I'm going to tell you another one. See, it drives me crazy. I was sitting with Addison, my son-in-law, yesterday, and I asked him. I said, "Hey, did you watch the ending of the NASCAR race last week?
Mhm.
And or did you hear about it?" He goes, "Yeah, I heard all the controversy." And I was like, "Oh my God." No. So I went and looked at what he read, and it did say controversy in NASCAR's finish. Let me tell you something. For those that didn't watch it, the controversy lasted 15 seconds. That was it. Maybe 15 seconds.
Right.
Like what happened is they both came across the finish line almost at the exact same time. It's 0.001 difference. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
They announced one guy the winner. And for all of 5 seconds, he and his whole team thought they won. 5 seconds, maybe 7. Okay.
Uh-huh.
And then they came across, and NASCAR never rolled a winner, by the way. NASCAR said, hey, no, the other guy won. And now they're cheering. The other guys are not cheering anymore. They're like dumbfounded, like, how did we not win?
Right.
They went and looked at the replay, and I'm not kidding. They said, yeah, we didn't win. That was the controversy. 15 seconds, maybe.
Right.
All right, let's quit talking about clickbait.
All right.
So I was reading this book, and I thought about you, and that's why I said, hey, I want to do a live call with you.
Mm-hmm.
You are, people always try to identify themselves too hard to say, this is who I am, And, you're a single mother, but that's not your identity.
Right.
You don't go around wearing this, thing on your chest, of, hey, I'm single mother, here's my kid.
Right.
You typically tell everybody later,
Mm-hmm.
after you've told them your vision and where you're going and where you're headed and what you're doing. And my mom was the same way. My mom didn't go around, starting off our conversations with, I'm a single mother, watch me, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm reading this book, and it talks about making decisions, and people think we make a lot of decisions in life, but really we don't. We just make a few that are very impactful and important and change our life forever. But there was one thing he says in this book that really got me. And I thought about you because I'm pretty certain there's been people in your life. There's probably people in your life that have said, why do you do X, Y, Z? And so one thing he says in this book, he talks about, number one is the man who says they put God first doesn't understand. You don't put God first. God is first. You and I we can't have the arrogance to put God first. God is.
Right.
You and I don't get to, he lives inside of us.
Mm-hmm.
He is. So it's not like I put God first, and you see people put it on their stuff all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not picking on that because I got friends that do it. But then he said the thing that drives him the most crazy is when people say, I put my family first, not work. And he lashed back pretty hard, and I sent you the article. And this is what I love what he said. He said, I've never met a man or a woman who was bad at work and great at home. Meaning they were a horrible worker. They never committed. They never did anything. But all of a sudden they were Mr. Wonderful Parent. The two go hand in hand. They're intertwined, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, and vice versa. I've never met anyone go the other way. And our work is the work that God has given us to do for our family.
Yep.
And I'm going to paraphrase it. He didn't say it like this, but I'm going to say it like this. Me working so hard at my work and committing to my goals and committing to my work is putting my family first.
100%. Yep.
Okay. And so I thought about you, and goodness gracious, you are super single mother. You should have a cape. You don't go wearing that badge to make people feel sorry for you at all. You just fight and do your thing. And I'm sure you've had people in your life say to you, hey, you got to do this, you got to do that, but what I do know, Jen, and I just want to say this before I pass it off to you, is that my mom gave me a PhD in life because I watched her work so hard. And she had friends, Jen, that said she put work first. She put her school first. She put her college first, her degree first. I think she put me first by doing that.
100%.
No doubt. Because as you know, I barely graduated high school and I can't spell. She gave me a PhD in life by watching her put, if you want to say she put work first, I think she did, which I think she put family first by putting work first. So it's kind of an oxymoron. It's kind of weird. But tell me what you think about that. I want to hear from you because you're doing so many great things and amazing things. And I just want to hear what you got to say about it.
You're the best. Thank you for all of that. I love this conversation. It could not be more aligned with where I am in this season of life. A couple things when you read that quote, I think it obviously is coming from a space of like really negative mindset around work, right? Like then you assume that work has to be different than kids or that you need to show up separate or different. And so as a single mom, as an entrepreneur, as a podcast host, as a all the things that I'm doing, yes, some people with the mindset that to be a good mom means I need to be sitting on the couch watching TV with my kids when they get home from school every day, or I need to be just, I don't know what the normal should look like, but it's like building a business alongside your kids means that I'm not showing up for my kids. And it's so cool, the timing. And I'll just say this to any mom out there or even dad, to encourage you that the reason this is true is, so my son, so I have 4 kids. So my oldest daughter's 14, then I have an 11-year-old son, a 10-year-old daughter, and an 8-year-old son. And so my 11-year-old son just had to write this essay, and I had no idea about the essay. Didn't find it till I was cleaning out the backpack this past week. And it was a special person essay. They had to write a whole like 2-page paper on it. And I read it. And so he wrote this whole 2-page essay on me. And so cue all of the mom tears of all of the things to see how you're my son. But at the bottom, he talked about how he's watching me work so hard and it gives him bigger dreams and knowing that he's capable of working hard for his dreams too.
Wow.
And it literally, it take my breath away, even just like thinking about it now, because that's the whole thing.
Yeah.
Like I want like a mom told me a long, long time ago. I was a stay-at-home mom for 7 years straight. And so, and I'll be honest, I was miserable. Like the whole like laundry being my like to-do list for the day was not cutting it. But I wanted to be home with my kids and I didn't know that there was another way. And I remember that I was transitioning into a work position about 7, or I guess that, I mean, this was like 7 years ago, I guess. And she was like, it's okay to be an interesting parent. And I was like, such an and I'm not knocking stay-at-home moms, right? There's plenty you can be, interesting. But the point was, it's okay to have another identity other than mom and teach your kids through that other identity as well. Because for the most part, they're not going to grow up and just, stay at home or have that, that life. And so for them to, and even if they do, to see that what is capable and what's possible is absolutely the greatest thing we can do as parents, is instead of waiting till your kids are grown to have an adventure, is to bring your kids along on the adventure and to have them watch. Like they know, like with season of life, like where I do my meetings, they know, like if mommy's on a Zoom, I'm going to close the door, but they're welcome to come in here and sit in here and listen to my Zoom or listen to whatever. And, it's a very, very open environment, because even though I have to work, right? Like I don't get to just not work. I work like 16-hour days sometimes. And what I've learned is that if you don't want to do that, that's fine. But if you do want to do that, that's also fine too. And so, so that's been a big shift, because yes, everyone has an opinion and everyone thinks what a mom should look like. And I think too, just discovering your own voice and being able to say, no, this is the kind of mom that I want to be, and stepping into that and owning that. But yeah, so I'm definitely very passionate about showing our kids there's a much bigger picture, as your mom did, right? It's, you watched her fight, and look where you are now, like all that, that you've accomplished. I know so much is from watching her never give up on her dreams. And so what a gift as a parent to give that to your child.
Yeah, I think that's the key word you said, is she never gave up on her dreams. I think, well, 2 things here. One is, I think sometimes you'll hear people say, I put my family first, and they're very hardcore, like, and they don't really understand what they're saying. And I think they're saying it because they had a parent that they felt put their work first. Because there is a balancing act.
For
Okay.
sure.
You do have the workaholic that works to get away from their family, and they're usually doing deceitful things and bad things and whatnot. Right.
Right.
But they're claiming they're working. I'm working hard. I'm working hard. I'm working hard. And they miss everything. Right. But there's also that balancing act of, okay, it's okay to do those things, but as long as the family knows they're loved and taken care of. So we had Mother's Day dinner yesterday, and it was cool listening to my daughter Randy talk, her and Tamara talk kind of to Addison, because he's new part of the family,
Mhm.
and talk about how I was gone every weekend. I worked every weekend, but the way Randy was saying it, Jen, was not in this angrily mad. He worked every weekend. She was like, he was going after his goals and he had to work every weekend, and
Yep.
I know he was doing it for us, you know,
Right.
but she always knew she was loved, right? She knew I believed in her and I loved her. And that's what my mom did with me. And I know that's what you do with your kids is, so I think people got to understand you got to have that you got to have some common sense here, you know?
Right. Yeah, I think that's totally different. Your
Yeah.
work wasn't an escape. You weren't trying to escape your family. You're trying to add value to your family. And your
Yeah.
kids pick up on that, right? They
Oh, yeah.
they know if it's separate, right? If it's you pursuing your own thing outside of them, without them, in spite of them essentially, versus you going after something. Like my kids know my goals. Like they know what I do. They know that, I've got this podcast. They know that I'm, doing these networking meetings. Like they want to go to networking meetings with me every time they're out of school. So they very much are along for the ride of what I'm doing. And I'm so excited about that. Like I remember back in the day, right? They used to have like go to work with your parent day, like one day a year. And I thought that was the coolest thing, to get to go and see, what my mom did, or whatever. And so I think there's just, it's, again, are my kids going to probably do what I'm doing? 100% no. They are very uniquely gifted and wired. And I mean, I say that I never thought I'd be doing what I'm doing either. So maybe they'll, they could do that too. But, I don't, I think it's the mentality is everything about it. It's again, because ultimately, like, what kind of dads do I want to raise? I've got two sons.
Mm.
I want them to want to provide for their families and want that. And I want them to see that it's okay to provide a really cool living for your family and bring your family along and not isolate your family from what you do. And so, even though I'm the mom figure, I know that I'm training my boys to, again, bring their families along on the adventure. So I always tell them, like, you guys, God gave you to me to bring on and make this adventure even better. And so we're all doing this, together. And I think that's, it's powerful for kids to, again, how do you change the cultural thing? You just raise different kids,
Yeah.
right? I mean, because you're right. That's not how we were raised. Work was very separate. It was like you went to work, you didn't talk about it. You just knew if your dad had a bad day or a good day, depending on how the mood he was when he came home, whenever he came home, versus it's so different. I think that's so beautiful that our culture is shifting to, the entrepreneurial, type, atmosphere and, different ways we can build our families into what we do versus it being separate.
So you answered my question that I was going to ask you. I'm
Oh,
gonna ask you again anyhow. No, it's okay. I'll just paraphrase some of what you said, but my question was going to be how do you balance? How do you do that balance? And you just said you actually sit down with your kids and go over goals. Is that what you said?
Mhm. Yeah, yeah. So my kids know the goals. They know, what my quarterly goals are. They know, what I do in a day. They know why I'm on a Zoom. It's kind of funny. I've somehow fallen into life coaching. I wanted to be life coaching, and then someone assumed that I was a life coach and said, "Hey, what do you charge?" And I'm like, "Here we go. I'm a life coach. Now I have my first client, and it's awesome." And so with that, like again, it's just one of these things. You show up and God just continues to direct the path in the direction he wants you to go. And so my kids, I'm like, "Hey, I've got a life coaching session. Y'all should listen in. Like, I think this is really valuable for you guys." And so they're like, "Oh my gosh, mom, they're like, that's so cool." And I'm like, you may grow out of that. Right now, they're the ages, they still think mom is cool, most days. But we'll take it as long as it lasts. But two, having that intentional time. Like when I'm so fortunate, even in a divorce situation, I get to pick up my kids every single day after school. So no matter if it's my week, dad's week, or whatever. And so when I pick them up from carpool till about an hour after school, it's homework time. I don't schedule meetings during that. I'm not on my phone. I don't have Zooms or anything. That's homework time. And then, right, baseball practices, baseball games, gymnastics, orchestra concerts, other, activities on the weekend. I carve out that time. So I am either all in work where they're welcome to join in, or I'm all in being a mom and there's nothing that's going to, to come into that. And so and it's different every day. There's some days I'm on Zooms back to back to back to back to back, and my 14-year-old's helping with dinner and doing that. But that's cool. But it's so about the paintbrush you use to paint that. So I could paint it with like, oh my gosh, I'm so busy, can you just do whatever? And I'm like, okay, we're going to be a team tonight. All right, so mom's got this Zoom, like, you do this, you do this, you do this, and they get to join in, and they all feel like they're a part of making this all happen, and moving forward, instead of it being like, I don't have time for you tonight, right? It's like, it's so much of it is the mindset and the lenses that you give your kids, that work is not a bad 4-letter word. And, again, getting them excited about that, but then also knowing like, okay, this is all mommy time, or this is, I've got to focus on this, this Zoom. So definitely being intentional was a huge shift for me, especially going from working to working at home, because that's a big shift to figuring out the balance when, your kids think, oh, mommy's home, you have full access to her. And so, for them to learn, the different on and off, times has been a big deal. So, but then they know when it's their time, it's all their time. So,
Yeah. Well, I mean, you just proved Charlie Tremendous Jones correct. He said, if you are a good leader, in business, which you are, I've watched you, I've witnessed you. And how I define a good leader is, how do they handle adversity, not how they handle all the W's. You don't know what type of leader you got till they hit adversity. And I've watched her hit adversity, and I've seen her lead. She's committed to her goals, committed hardcore. Like, I'm building a real estate company now. I want like 200 of her on my team, because this woman will commit like crazy. I mean, commit so much, like she'll go down with the ship. She won't, hey, Jen, the place is burning down. Like, seriously, we got to get out. She's like, no, we're going to do this. I mean, she's committed. And that's a quality that's amazing. But Charlie says, because you are so, such a great leader, and you don't gossip, you don't get in all that garbage. Now, when you're at home, you're able to lead through challenging circumstances of, okay, I scheduled way too many Zooms today. I can't feed y'all. Like she said, she could have been like screaming, oh my God, I got so much to do, like horrible leaders do. And there's tons of them. But she's a great leader. So since she's a great leader there at work, she's also a great leader at home. Instead, at home, she says, hey, guys, everybody's got to chip in today. And she knows in her heart that not everybody's going to buy into what she's saying, but she's got to get them to buy in, to get the dinner done, to get everything done, to get the homework done, to whatever they got to get done. And so she can lead her family life. And the two, like Charlie says, they go hand in hand. You can't do one without the other. And you're just answering.
But I mean, that's where I'm at now, because I was constantly stressed, and I felt like the time with my kids, I was worried about what I didn't finish with my work, and did I tie up all those loose ends and all that. And so what I realized is I didn't have any systems in place, and it's in a business without any systems, and a family without systems is just like a multi-headed monster trying to go somewhere. And so that's why I'm like, okay, what I'm currently doing is not working, right? Like, I'm not all in anywhere. And I think that's where adversity, that what it teaches you is there's so much value in presence. And that's honestly what the past year and a half taught me, was like, okay, I'm about to be all in, because I'm not guaranteed tomorrow, and I'm not guaranteed anything. And so I'm going to be super intentional with the time that I have. And it caused me just to like pause and say, okay, I got to do something different. And then that's where I'm like, okay, I have to work hard, because I'm rebuilding my life. Like, I wish I could just work a few hours a day, right, around the kids, or when the kids are at school, but that wasn't practical. So I'm like, what can I do? But what I realized, the tension between me and my kids was when they were trying to do homework, and they're like, mommy, we need you to do homework. And I'm like, okay, just give me 30 minutes. And then I would do this work, and I would be back and forth. And now it's bedtime, and they're like, mommy, we never finished my homework. And I'm like, oh, and then I'm frustrated and I'm frazzled. And I'm like, okay, take a deep breath. we got to get a different system in here. And then that's where I'm like, no, because just for instance, maybe people can relate. Like I have I'm not only do I do my business, but I'm leading other agents as well. And so a lot of people have access to my calendar, which is great that I don't get double booked and all of that. But what I learned is that if I don't put the marbles in first that have to be there, like homework, instead of thinking, oh, we'll just do it around my meetings, that was creating unnecessary chaos in my house.
Yeah.
And the consistency around the 2:30 to 3:30 mark in my house, like that was a big deal. I'm like, y'all can pick any other time the rest of the night, right? And so again, but it was trial and error. And so it's figuring out what's causing the chaos, what's causing the crazy. And then and even just such little simple shifts like that. And even I used to do Zooms in baseball practice, and I would like pride myself on it. I'm like, I can do my business from anywhere. And I'm like on a Zoom, on my phone, baseball behind there. But I mean, I'm in baseball mom clothes and all of that. And then I'm like, time out. First of all, I want to be at baseball practice. And second of all, I don't want to run my business in a t-shirt with my baseball gear on from my car, because I value the appointment. So even that, what I thought I was valuing was that I could do my business anywhere. But in fact, what I was doing is separating myself, and I really wasn't present how I wanted to show up anywhere. So I found out it was better for me to block off the times where I could be in this spot, right, on my computer, on my laptop, and be 100% present for the meeting. My closing ratio skyrocketed, all of that. My confidence skyrocketed. And then when I'm at baseball, I just get to be baseball mom. So that was, again, a lot of the trial and error of what I prided myself on in the business actually was becoming my detriment. And it went until the night. Again, you have to look at yourself in the mirror and say, what's not working? What's causing me to feel a disarray? What can I do to shift it? And so those big changes, even just since this August, I mean, it's been completely shifts big time.
So you've had failure,
Mm-hmm.
and in business and in home.
Yes.
But again, what makes Jen so powerful, and what everybody needs to understand, is how she handles that failure. She just talked about how um, the schedule wasn't correct.
Mm-hmm.
She never said, "Oh my God, nothing's working right." She found a solution to it. It was a failed system that she had.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're able to get through failure and not sit around and what you could do, Jen, is go, God, I just missed so many baseball games. What have I done to my kids? And I watch people do it all the time.
Yep.
But how do you just dust yourself off and say, yeah, I screwed up, but I'm going to fix it? How do you do that?
Again, I think there's things adversity teaches you that I'm forever thankful for. And for my own personal life, I had to go through a huge season last summer of forgiving myself. There's a lot of things I missed the last couple of years with my kids because of decisions that I made. And I had to sit really, really honest with myself and forgive myself for missing those, and saying, what I can't control is what's behind me. Well, what I have absolute control over is every day in front of me. And so how I will show up in X, Y, and Z will be very, very, very different. And the lens that I made decisions before, and so a lot of it was just life showing me that I could literally wallow in self-pity, or I could simply become the best version of myself and forgive myself, give myself the same grace that I give everybody else. And I think a lot of leaders can show grace to other people, and we are our absolute worst enemies. And I think that there's some good in that, right? It's like we don't want to BS ourselves and, pretend that everything is okay when it's not, and things like that. But also knowing that the pain of what was in my rearview mirror did not have any space for what was ahead of me. And so I had to be at peace with that. And then just again, I have a tattoo that says live for legacy. And the power of that is that we can change that every single day. One of the most powerful statements that I learned was that just as someone can be born in a day, someone can change in a day. It doesn't have to be a huge, drawn out process. You can literally decide, this is who I am starting right now, and I will show up different. And it works. Like, people are like, how do you wake up every day at 5 o'clock and go work out? I'm like, well, now my body just wakes up on its own. It's not even, but if you had told me last October that I was going to be waking up every day at 5 o'clock, I probably would have laughed at you. Until then, I decided this is what it's going to take for me to reach my other goals. Then this is just what I'm going to become. And now my 14-year-old daughter is like, hold my drink. I'm going to wake up with you every morning at 5 o'clock, and I'm going to go to the gym with you every morning, Mom. And we're like the best little accountability partners, because she saw, like I saw, working out was way more mental than it was physical. And the confidence she builds every single day before 6 a.m. is not reproducible. Right. And so it's those types of things. It's you deciding, this is who I want to be. I'm Jen, and I'm committed to my goals, and my goals are way more than my business. My goals are relationally, they are spiritually, they are physically, and it all works together. And when you start to show up for yourself in one area, then you start to show up for yourself in other areas. And but I would say the biggest thing is, the first person you've got to stop lying to is yourself. If you keep telling yourself, I'm going to work out tomorrow, and you don't work out tomorrow, you have zero confidence in yourself. Because you are literally telling yourself, what I say is actually absolute crap, because I'm not going to do it. And that's where, again, I had to forgive myself, and I had to say, you know what? I can't control anything else. I can't control anyone else. The only thing I can control is my attitude and my actions. And so if my mindset stays forward thinking and not backwards thinking, and my actions show up for what I know that I'm capable of, then and only then can I move 1 foot forward every single day, not leaps and bounds, but one step in front of the other. And just, I think I went way beyond the question that you asked, but I got on a little rabbit trail. But yeah, that's my journey from
That was a beautiful ending. It's 1:30 your time, Georgia time, 12:30 here, and she's got to go get the kids. So that's why we scheduled this when we did.
Yes.
She's got a schedule, and that was, you hit a grand slam right there. Everything you were saying, I was like, well, I was going to ask this question. I don't got to ask this because she's saying it. And just, you're amazing. I'm blessed to know you. Yes, I'm going to keep trying to recruit you to my real estate gig until you say yes. We will be in business together somehow, some way. I don't know what, but we
I
will.
believe it. It'll work out.
We are meant to do something together. You're
Yes.
you're too much of an incredible friend.
Sure.
But thank you, and thanks for that ending. That was huge. I mean, we could wrap up the last like 4 minutes there, and I probably will, and spit that out to a lot of people that need to hear it. Because one thing I didn't hear you say is you never said, well, I just have all this shame. She never said that. She said you can change in a day. You can literally make the decision to change. And just thank you, Jen. I love you so much. I love those kids. That's why I'm going to let you get out of here, because you got to go pick them up, because you are super mom, even though you don't wear that cape. You are super mom. And by the way, happy Mother's Day yesterday.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah. Well,
Okay.
thank you so much.
Thank you. Yes, I appreciate you. I appreciate your friendship. I appreciate you living a life that is emulatable. And so thank you for leading from the top. And I appreciate it. I don't know where I've been the past year. I'm like, okay, Paul can do it, Jen can do it. So yeah. So thank you for leading out that way. And thank you so much for the opportunity. Anytime I can do anything alongside you, and cheer people on and inspire anybody, it's an honor. So thanks for the invite.
Thank you. Have a good one.
You too. All right, bye, y'all.